Hello, I'm attorney Tammy Saltzman, and you are watching Divorce Connection Network. Today, this is our first time having two guests, so I'm so excited to have both you here. Right here to my right is Andrea Perlin. She's been practicing as a licensed mental health counselor for 10 years here in the Florida area. She's originally from New Jersey. And to her right, we have Suzanne Wachtel. Hi, Suzanne.
Hi.
And Suzanne is from New York, and she's been practicing as a licensed clinical social worker for 10 years, and they have just joined forces, I'm so pleased to say, and they are doing a new concept here in South Florida, and the concept says, save your marriage, have a four-way. So, on that note, I will tell you that I have known these women now for quite some time. We've met recently through the collaborative divorce training that we just had in Boca Raton, and I am pleased to say that they've joined forces to create this great program for you, and we're going to now talk to them about what is a four-way. So, hi ladies.
Good morning, Tammy.
Good morning. Good to see both of you. Thank you for coming. This is a great thing. And, you know, in my practice, one of the first things that I ask couples about is, have they tried counseling? Have they gone and seen a counselor? Have they seen a priest or a rabbi? Have they done every single thing possible to try and save their marriage before they hire someone like me to get divorced? So, what is this four-way that you've been talking about?
Well, I've been doing marriage counseling for years, and I find that it's very difficult to remain neutral. When you have two people that aren't getting along, that don't agree, that haven't communicated, that are very angry, it's very difficult to remain neutral and to be fair to both parties. And more often than not, one of them runs out screaming, angry, and nothing gets accomplished. So what I developed a few years ago, and it seems to be very, very successful, is I incorporate two therapists to join the marriage counseling, thus it being called a four-way.
So there you go. I know some of you are thinking, ooh, what is a four-way? So when I ask couples, have they gone to therapy, quite often one party will feel that in marriage counseling, they got ganged up on.
And that's true. It happens all the time because it's very difficult to not side. It's like 3 is a bad number always. Mm-hmm. And so when you have a couple with adversarial issues, it's very difficult to remain neutral and fair.
And right.
So what I did is I would have Andrea join me. She's been trained in it as well, the four-way process. A couple calls me, they want to come in. I would meet with the husband or the wife, just doesn't matter, and find out what her take is on what's happening. And then Andrea would see the other person. Mm-hmm. And then we would coordinate a session where the four of us get together. And what happens in the session is she and I have an understanding of what the couple's going through. And we are able, because we are neutral parties, to communicate to one another what they're going through. So it's very difficult when you're upset and going through problems in a marriage to bring up hot topics.
Right.
Whether it's money or in-laws or whatever the case may be. She and I, though, can discuss their problems in front of them in a neutral way. So they get their voices heard through us. They each have an advocate, just like when you do a divorce, right? Mm-hmm. When people aren't getting along, you have two attorneys, each to represent the other's needs. And it really seems to be more fair and much more productive.
So you have a husband and a wife. You take one and you take the other. Do you have a preference as to who works with who?
I don't. No, not necessarily.
Neither one of us do. I also work with the children as well to make sure that their voices are heard. And that way they have a voice within what's going on, so we can make it about the children and not make them pawns in the divorce itself.
That's very good, because quite often parents do use children as pawns in a divorce.
Too often, yes.
Too often.
And children know that. They
damaging.
feel it. And, you know, they also are clear about what's going on. You know, they know who is teaching them about about love and who is teaching them about hate.
That's right.
They know
Very
who
true.
is telling the truth and who is telling the lies. They know who is extending the invitations and who is saying, I'm not doing that, no. So they're and as they grow up and become adults, they become even more clear about what transpired. So that's good that but we're not including children in the four-way.
But our
no.
goals is to do a strategic marriage counseling, which is short term. I believe that if the couples are willing to cooperate and they really want this marriage to work, that they will cooperate and they will do whatever it is they need to do to make it better.
So they're going to work hard.
They're going to
gonna
learn
be
to
homework.
communicate.
They're going to have homework. Go ahead.
Communicate.
Yep.
Learn different coping skills, not use the children as pawns, basically rework and retool their entire marriage.
Learn how to talk, learn how to be friends again, learn how to be kind to one another. And really, we spend so much time and money on our children giving them this, taking them there. Giving them a healthy family is priceless.
So you had said, and I'm going to go back because I'm sure that the audience really is excited about the phrase short term, right?
Yes.
So my job's to pick out these topics because I know that sometimes you feel like, when is therapy ever going to end, and how long do you need to see me till I'm dismissed?
Well, you also have to work on the positives of what's working within the marriage, finding out what's working for them, where their strengths are.
I love that.
And then find out, so that way if you're not going to hammer home on the strengths, figure out where they're doing things correctly, or where it's working, then just work on the main issues that are the hot topics.
Well, I would say that I usually, when people say, how long is this going to take? I typically say 10 sessions. By 10 sessions, you will know if this marriage is going to the divorce attorney who's waiting with the credit card machine to take your money, or if you can at least try to save your marriage by reuniting, reconnecting, and doing all the things we learn in the four-way. We're always available to them. If they have an issue, they can come in and we can work with them. I also like to do individual sessions in between the marital sessions. So if, for example, the husband has an anger issue, that's not something we would necessarily address in the four-way.
Right, too
I would address that
confrontational.
privately.
Right.
So you're really getting a 2-for-1. And
You really are getting a 2-for-1 in a way.
Yes.
I mean, each person is seeing you separately and providing you with their own guidance and paying you separately as well.
Right.
But if they are going out with homework and they are creating new habits and patterns
Yes.
and learning better ways of communicating and having fun together, then it could be that they don't need to hire a divorce attorney.
That's right.
Hopefully
Correct.
the perceptions will change within the marriage.
Right.
The issues will dissolve and they can move forward.
What's also very special to me about having this four-way is typically you're alone with the couple, and you really, because of HIPAA laws, aren't allowed to discuss their case pretty much. So when we work collaboratively, the two of us, we already have their permission to discuss their case. Perhaps not a secret, they would mention not to, but we can discuss their case. And by discussing their issues and case, now you have two people that are knowledgeable in psychology and marriage counseling to kind of come up with even more ideas.
Okay, so now I'm going again as the moderator here, ask. So there is a level of confidentiality in addition to full disclosure. So like you're fully disclosing together and trying to work on this marriage, but there are times that maybe one party will say, please don't tell my spouse this.
That's right. And
Yes.
legally we're bound to that. So in a private session, if someone discloses perhaps they're having an affair or something's going on, we would work on that privately. I may have an opinion or a suggestion about how to handle it, but the marriage counseling is separate from the individual therapy.
Okay.
But it does help to have insight into the person and then be able to go into the marriage counseling, see how they interact together, and then be able to correct it.
Okay.
Even if they fight in there, it's wonderful because you really get to see what they're doing and how they interact.
How they interact.
Yeah.
Right, and how they deal with
Right. How
issues
they
that
how they
conflict.
communicate to see
Right.
what the hot buttons are. You know immediately from the interactions with a couple, when you see them sitting together, what the topics are, and who retreats, who attacks, who lunges.
there's a handful of topics. You know, it's not brain surgery, right? You know, there's
Money,
sex,
religion,
in-laws, religion. You know, so these are the things. You know, these are the things that get in the way. You know, I find a lot of times people who are coming and getting their second divorces. Now we've got issues of children from prior marriages that are interfering, prior spouses, these types of
Life
issues.
is stressful in general. And then being married is not easy today. It's a very hard thing to do, and no one teaches you how to get married and how to behave and what to do, and no one teaches you how to get divorced and how to do it in a civil, humane way. So in my approach, I like to teach those skills.
And those are important skills. I know that you and I have worked together to help couples in second marriages create post-nuptial agreements so that all of a sudden they feel safe. As soon as they have, like, they're so worried that their children aren't going to get something, and it causes a lot of conflict in second marriages when there's children, adult children, and mistrust. And as soon as they get everything in writing, I know you've called me in to do a few of these post-nuptial agreements, all of a sudden the couple has a sense of security. They have everything in black and white. They've already gotten their divorce, so to speak, and now they can get on with their marriage.
Absolutely.
They have their expectations. They've all been met. They've been managed. They know what's going on, and then you can move forward.
I like the whole prenuptial and post-nuptial.
I like the prenup too, because you really then know what you're entitled to, and there's no war at the end.
Right.
If it ends.
Right, if it ends.
Right, if it ends. And then this sense of security is, a nice foundation to build on from there, because I find that where it starts is with trust and respect, right? So once you lose the trust and the respect, it just kind of creates holes in the foundation of your relationship, and there's nothing holding everything in. And so when you can create back the trust and the respect, then you can build from there.
That's why I really do encourage couples to come in before they get married. I've had gay couples, I've had young couples that are dating and engaged, having conflict, that are really smart enough to come in and work on the issues beforehand.
That's great advice.
And do a prenup sometimes, yes, and bring you in to make it. It really is wonderful, because then you know, do I want to enter in this marriage? Is she or he willing to adapt to the changes we need to be happy, or should we move on?
I think that's great advice, and I wish more people were taking that kind of advice. And when you hear about young kids, and I'm talking under 30, right? Yeah. Getting engaged and getting married, you wonder, have they experienced enough? Have they worked on themselves enough? Are they secure enough to really have the tools that are necessary?
Have they hit a crisis yet within their relationship? It's very easy. I use the roller coaster as an example. It's very easy when you're going up and everything is going really well. But the moment you start to go down in the roller coaster and the times get hard and get tough and you have issues, there's money problems or an in-law or a death or something that goes on, even the birth of a baby throws things off. How do you handle all those stresses?
Right. Well, that's right. And that's the true character of a person and a marriage. Right. Everything looks great, but you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. And, if you are experiencing marital issues, you're not alone. And so if each of you can find a pair like Andrea and Suzanne to work with and to help you resolve your issues and get better tools so that you can communicate better and, most importantly, get your needs met. I mean, that's really what marriage is all about. Right. You marry someone who you're hoping is going to fulfill your needs.
Sure.
And when your needs don't get met, that's when someone else's needs comes before your spouse's needs, that's when issues,
Andrea and I are very big on teaching the 5 languages of love.
We've spoken about that.
A very important topic for couples or anybody in relationships, because it's knowing what makes your partner feel loved and teaching them what makes you feel loved. And really, if you're winging it, you're blindly in a relationship. You don't know what's going to happen. So you really need this knowledge. It's an education on self.
You've heard us speak about the 5 love languages before, where there's a book out called The 5 Love Languages, and it is really important. Andrea spoke about knowing what your strengths are. It's very important to know what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. I am good at a lot of things. I don't enjoy cooking. It's just the way it is, If you own it and you look for someone who loves to cook, then you have a great match.
If you love to eat.
If you have to eat, right?
Are you a good cleaner, though? If someone cooks, then the other one cleans.
And that's how
partnership.
My children and I have that. I buy the food, Jared cooks the food, Brandon cleans up after dinner. So we have a little thing going there. But the same thing with the love languages. Not everyone likes to be loved in the same way. I love touch. That's my love language. If you ask my mom, may she rest in peace, that was not her love language. She didn't like to hug. She didn't like to hold hands. She didn't like that. She liked to travel and do different things. So her love language was different. And when you know what it is that makes your needs feel met, you're on the right road.
Most people, though, unfortunately, they show love in the way they like to feel loved. So if someone loves getting gifts that makes them feel loved, they will typically buy someone a gift expressing their love for them.
Right.
But if that person wants quality time or wants a hug, they're not going to feel loved at all. And that's where the miscommunication happens and the feelings of rejection start. So it's a little complicated, but really it's pretty basically simple. It's just finding out who each other is, finding the love, being willing to surrender and do whatever it takes to make it work.
Okay, please stay with us. We're going to be back with these 2 lovely ladies to talk about the next step. Thanks. Hi, I'm attorney Tammy Saltzman, and you are watching Divorce Connection Network. Thanks for coming back and joining us, because we're here with Suzanne Wachtel and Andrea Perlin, and we are talking about their program called Save Your Marriage, Have a 4-Way. And we're talking about what is a 4-way and how a 4-way, using 2 therapists with a husband and a wife, or a husband and a husband, or a wife and a wife, however you couple, how a 4-way can help neutralize and give each person a advocate to have their needs met and try to work through the issues that are threatening to destroy your marriage. And while we would all love to think that, we can save every marriage, and that we're so great at what we do that we can solve the world and heal everyone, we both know, all of us know, that not every marriage can be saved.
That's
okay?
Right.
Especially the ones, like you mentioned before, when someone's having an affair, or asking you to hold a lot of things in confidential. When you have secrets.
That's true.
They destroy a marriage.
And typically people end up at the marriage counseling it's when the car is meant to be totaled. That's when they show up to fix it. So the sooner you get to counseling when trouble starts, the better.
Right.
Because they come when there's so much damage already, it's very difficult to repair all of that. It really is.
Yeah, I know. So, those marriages that cannot be saved, it's my understanding that the 4-way can also assist them in dissolving their marriage, or the new catchphrase, uncoupling.
Yes.
And so why don't we talk a little bit about that? I know Andrea wants to talk about the parenting plan and how you can help a couple. Why don't you address those issues?
Well, it's very important to make sure that the children stay in the forefront of it all, that you don't use them as pawns, that you use technology to help if your communication skills, if it is broken down in such a way that you really can't communicate without the anger in your voice. It is important to just use timeouts for parents if you're doing it. If you know that there's, you're not having a good day, say it. I'm not having a good day. Can I call you in an hour when my day is better, or, things have calmed down within the house? just using different skills so you can make a parenting plan that works for your kids and for your divorce. No two parenting plans will be the same. I kind of use the Venn diagram as an example, where there will be lots of things that are similar within all of them, but then there will be things that work in particular for each and every couple and each and every family.
So in the four-way, you each work with a mom and a dad, or however they're parenting, and you determine what would work best for their family unit. You know, some people do one night during the week and every other weekend. Some do 3-3-2, or 2-2-3, or some do 7 and 7, and they do a 50-50 split. So
what we try to do, really, what I try to do is listen to the pair, listen to the couple, hear what they want, and really, instead of being spiteful and unfair, we're trying to give the family, even though they're breaking up, some sort of civility and some sort of fairness and kindness, so the children are not exposed to all of this anger and hatred, because let's face it, it's still their father and it's still their mother.
Right.
So to see them being unkind to one another, what are we teaching them? What are we modeling for them?
Right. Correct.
So in the four-way, I've gotten that through to couples, that they really need to take responsibility for their behavior. And that they really need, if they want to dissolve it, it's a partnership, that's okay. It can work out, they can be fair, they can be loving, they can even be friendly.
And co-parent.
And co-parent. And here's something that I remember from when I worked at Family Court Services. Your kids don't work for the FBI. Don't quiz them. Let them be kids. If you've got a problem, where did you go? What did you do? All those types of things. Just say, did you have a good time?
That's what I do. When my son comes home, did you have a nice weekend? Yep. Okay, next.
Go ahead.
And that's what's really important. So they feel good about themselves. They feel like they can have a good time with the mom. They can feel like they have a good time with the dad. And you're modeling great behavior for them. And that's what you have to really remember most, is modeling the behavior, because it is so important that if you show that you're angry all the time, what's your child going to be? Your child is going to be angry, is going to be a person that just...
Very damaging. It really is. I mean, one little boy, we do bring the children in occasionally to see what they want if they're old enough.
Right. Okay.
If they're old enough. One little boy, he was 4 years old, and he just stood up and said, I have a heart, and half of my heart loves my mom, and half of my heart loves my dad, and when they say mean things about each other, it hurts inside. So if that doesn't describe the
that gives me goosebumps.
Right.
And
so that's
it is
on a very
so
primitive
true.
level. Yeah, it's really a big deal.
It's true. They do know what's going on, and they may not always verbally express how they feel, but they know.
Yeah.
They know what the deal is. I know that there have been times that we've worked together where, because of the dynamics of this four-way that you do, you're able to use a mediator.
Yes.
And a mediator, I've come in and mediated with you and put together a parenting plan and a marital settlement agreement and gotten the parties ready to go to the courthouse and file everything on their own, where they never needed to even hire a lawyer. And that worked out so nicely.
And that was because they were diffused, they were validated, they were represented emotionally. And then when it came to dissolving the marriage, they were prepared to do it in a fair, amicable, easy way.
I would imagine that once you decide, like if you're trying to save your marriage and trying to save your marriage and trying to save your marriage, and then one day you just decide, it's not happening, we're not saving the marriage, it's almost, there's no, screw you, I'm getting a divorce. It's more like, okay, well let's...
it's a sense of relief.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can look at yourself in the mirror and say that you've done everything humanly possible to try to save my marriage. Or just,
you were going to say there's still some anger.
Well, no, what I was going to say is endings are very difficult for everybody.
Yes,
so
they're scary.
It's much easier. It's like
Very
when kids go away to college or 12th grade, right? They're very mean and nasty because they're trying to disconnect and not care. So it's much easier to be angry than to feel pain or to be frightened or to be feeling abandoned.
Right, because anger kind of takes over, right?
Anger makes you feel strong and powerful, and if you hate them, then it motivates you and you don't care. But everyone I've ever spoken to that's gone through a divorce, that gets those divorce papers in the mail, they all feel very sad.
No matter who initiates, it doesn't really matter. You do feel sad and you feel scared.
Sure. Well, it's the fear of the unknown.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to thank all of you for joining us in this special edition of Divorce Connection Network. I'm so pleased to have both of you here, and I love working with both of you. So thanks for coming this morning.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
You'll be able to find a way to contact both Suzanne and Andrea on our website at divorceconnectionnetwork.com. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.